Fraziled with Rob.
All right, welcome to Fraziled with Rob. Today our special guest is
Dee Ann Peterson.
Dee Ann Peterson. Start by telling everybody what you teach.
So I teach sewing and interior design, so that's all I teach. I've actually grown that program since I started here, and so I'm really excited. Next year I get to teach all 8 periods of the stuff I love, so I'm excited.
So, Dee Ann, why sewing? What makes you like sewing?
So I grew up in the county 4-H program growing up, so I had 14 years of sewing 4-H under my belt. Growing up in Ohio, they didn't have fax classes really. Like I think I took 1 class in junior high and that was it. So all of us got our education in family and consumer sciences through the county program. And so I grew up with my mom and my grandmother being my advisors, and I fell in love with it. And so I remembered sewing on summer days in the back porch of my grandma's house. And so I decided that I loved it and started teaching it. It's amazing to see the students realize that it's a skill instead of just something like you can pick up and go and do. So they realize like, oh, I can do this, but I'm not good at it.
So why would people want to sew now? I think one of the arguments people make is that clothes are made so cheap. Like you could go get them really cheap at a Kohl's or somewhere else. So it's hard to justify actually sewing clothes yourself.
It's the age-old debate of quality versus quantity.
So if any of you want to sew and you don't know how, Dee Ann has lots of time. And she said, come on over. She'll teach you how to sew.
Pretty sure that's
not what you said?
That's not what I said.
Oh, well, maybe I just misinterpreted it.
That's what everybody thinks.
Do you get people that ever just bring you stuff and say, hey, can you fix this? Can you sew this?
Prom season? Say what?
So you have students that do that?
Yeah, I have students that do that. I have had several teachers too, but I even had Officer Rose bring me in a pair of pants she was wearing the one day. So then she sat in my back room in her skivvies and had me hem her pants.
The scandal. So sewing is half of what you teach. So tell us about the other part.
So I teach interior design. I really love that. And the kids, they love running with that problem of hey, we have this room, let's design it. And they have a lot of opinions and everything. So it's kind of cool to see. So you have the kids who are completely oh my God, this is amazing. And then you have the kids who are I don't want to do this ever. And so you can tell which ones love it. And it's more of an art class where they get to have fun with textures and things like that. So we talk about the elements and principles of design. And then in interior design too, my kids actually were drawing out floor plans. So it's kind of cool to see them progress.
Do you get kids that take that class because they watch those shows on A&E and wherever?
Yes.
And they think all of a sudden they're going to, I don't know, remodel a house and design it themselves?
Yeah, and it's so funny because they get into the class and then they realize that's not what interior design 1 is about, and so they don't want to take interior design 2, which is where we do that. So it's interesting to see what happens. But
one thing interesting about you that I know that a lot of people may not know is you kind of have a hobby on the side.
Which one?
We can get to more, but the one I know about involves you lifting and throwing things.
Yes.
So what exactly is it that you do, and I mean, how often? What's kind of the whole deal with that? And tell them what it is.
So I throw Scottish Highland games. That's kind of my jam. So I'm one of the kilted warriors, which is awesome. So yes, you have to wear a kilt, even the men.
Whoa.
So it's the weird skirt things from Scotland. We get in kilts and we run and throw. We don't run. Most of us are not in shape for running, but we lift heavy things. So we throw logs, we throw Olympic style hammers, we throw weight for distance, we stone put, and we throw a sheaf over a bar, which is a twine bale that you stab with a pitchfork and throw it up behind you.
Do you do all of those?
You have to compete all 9 events.
Okay, so the log, which is
the caber,
a big tree with no branches.
Yes.
How heavy is that?
So the highest that they really get is about 150 to 200 pounds and that's for the top class athletes in the men's. So, women, we tend to max out at about 100 pounds.
What's the furthest you've thrown a tree?
Yeah, well, so caber, contrary to popular belief, is not a distance event. So you're actually trying to get it to land, so you throw it, you huck it, right? And then you try and get it to land and then fall flat in front of you. at a 12 o'clock. So it's scored on a clock face.
So you're throwing up, not out?
Yeah. So you're throwing it up to land on its other end.
Did you do shot put in high school?
I did for a year before I had a major back injury. So...
Yeah, so obviously that's gone away if you're throwing all these things now.
Yeah, having 6 discs repaired at 16 was awesome. So I'm pretty sure my chiropractor hasn't signed off on
these
the
competitions.
log throwing.
What other odd things do you do?
So recently I've gotten into puzzles, which is...
Into what?
Puzzles. So like the flat puzzles.
Just like the
Yeah.
Ravensburger.
Yeah. Thomas Kincaid put out a multi-pack of like Disney puzzles with Thomas Kincaid's backgrounds. And so I whipped through those in 4 days, and there's a 4-pack. So I did a 500-piece puzzle every day for a week.
You know which puzzles are really cool is, I don't know if anyone here gets those wood puzzles, and the shapes are not puzzle pieces. It'll look like there may be a dog's head or something else, and they actually all fit together. Have you tried any of those?
I did one of those, and it was actually really cool. But the problem is like once you get it done, you can't glue it. Like it doesn't glue well. So this is where, Dee Ann, we have a pretty big disagreement with something is I would never glue a Lego. So why would you glue a puzzle? I think it's because Legos are more secure. And also puzzles are pieces of art that you hang on the wall versus like Legos are like they stand on themselves. Like you have a wonderful display case here. Yeah. I want to display my puzzles too. So
just get like tables all around your room
with like easels that slant up.
Yeah. So do you have a whole bunch of puzzles framed in your house?
Not like I have a collection. I have a stack of them right now because my apartment is very small. So that's a really small apartment.
And sometimes you have a bunch of people living in your small apartment.
It's a 2-bedroom apartment, and my live-in boyfriend has 3 kids. So every other weekend we have 3 little ones with us. So it makes for extra tight living quarters.
Yes, you really get to know each other well.
Yes, and it's even more fun when you get door slammed in your face from a teenager.
Yeah, no one here has ever had a door slammed in their face from a teenager, whether at school or at your house. It's just never happened.
It's never happened.
It's a first for you. What else do you like to do just for fun? This maybe not a hobby, but...
I love hiking. I think that's one of my favorites. It's kind of what made me stay in Utah. So, like I said, I grew up in Ohio. I moved out here in 2011. And then got married and ended up staying. And my mom was like, why don't you move home after I got divorced? And I was like, I really like the hiking and the national parks. And so it's not terribly uncommon to get me on a road trip on the weekend. And I do like whirlwind road trips where I think the year after I got divorced, I ended up going out and went through like 25 states, hit 10 national parks, saw 3 sets of family, like 7,500 miles, 3 weeks in the car, type of road trip.
I love that people love hiking because I don't. So where's home?
I am in that dual modality where when I'm here, Ohio is home, but when I'm in Ohio, here is home.
So, but you grew up in Ohio?
But I grew up in Ohio, yeah.
Where in Ohio?
The northeast part, in a little town called Newton Falls.
How did you feel about LeBron leaving?
Honestly, I don't watch sports ball.
You don't watch sports ball?
I don't watch sports ball.
Does that just mean any sport with a ball?
I don't watch any sport. I would much rather be out there doing them than watching them. I'm a fly by the seat of your pants type of person. I know you had no idea that was how I am.
No, that is such a shock, Dee Ann. Such a shock. Hey, this has been Fraziled with Rob and Dee Ann.